More on what we should be expecting from the local market. Stan Shamu standing by for us in IG in Melbourne. Stan, thanks so much for your time. First of all, let's get to these opening calls. SPI's down about 0.7% at the moment. I saw on Friday in the United States and in Europe the materials hit particularly hard. Obviously, this doesn't bode well for us today.
Yeah, absolutely. We're currently calling the market down about 1% to that 4,687 level. Of course, Friday we had seen a bit of a recovery in Asia on the back of some strong gains in Japan heading into the close there. So it just looks like we're likely to give up some of those gains we saw heading into last week's close. Of course, the materials don't look particularly good at the moment. We had iron ore down for the first time in 2 weeks to about that $118 a tonne level. As a result, we're expecting BHP to open down about 1.5% as well. So that's not looking good at all for the iron ore names. Apart from that, the gold names might be in for a little bit of a recovery. Of course, gold's holding at about 1,300 now. It had dropped quite significantly last week, and this might give a little bit of confidence to some of the bargain hunters out there who feel that maybe the gold sell-off has been overdone. We've got a bit of company news as well coming through today. We've got, of course, AMP saying it expects its first half earnings to be down about 13% from last year. So this might startle some investors, and potentially the stock might trade down to around the $4.50 mark. That's where we see support in the short term. And of course, AMP has been one of the better performers in the market this year. So this might just be an opportunity or an excuse to sell for some of those investors heading into the end of the financial year. Of course, it's always hard to pick the market as we approach the end of the financial year, because we see a lot of portfolio rebalancing and readjusting as, of course, investors close off some positions for tax purposes. Apart from AMP, we've got Metcash also supposed to report earnings today, and we've got that Echo news. It's obviously looking at investing over $1 billion in its Sydney casino to rival or to counter the investment from Crown Casino and its Banger development. So we'll have to wait and see how this develops as well in the session.
Okay, Stan, we're not looking so good at the open, but Japan, futures there pointing up about 1.5%. What's that? Where is that support coming from? Because they did well on Friday as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the recovery in the dollar-yen has been pivotal for the Nikkei's recovery. Of course, on Friday, it was up about 1.7%, and it massively outperformed the rest of the region. So that did push up the Aussie market as well. Heading into today, we've got the dollar-yen now back above that 98 level, and it looks like it might be pushing or edging towards 100 in the near term. So that's potentially what some investors are eyeing, and of course that might lead to some bargain hunting in Japanese equities today as well. There's not much on the economic calendar, but we've got some Fed members on the wires later in the week. Potentially they might stir up some further US dollar gains, and of course push the dollar higher against the yen, and this would obviously be positive for the Nikkei as well. We're currently looking at a gain for the Nikkei of about 1.4% to 13,400 plus. So that should be well supported by that rise in the dollar yen as well. Apart from Japan today, we've got, of course, China continuing to be one of the main sources of volatility for the region. Their interbank rates spiked significantly last week, and there's now news that, or reports suggesting that they might be looking at some monetary policy initiatives to try and ease some of the pressure on the bank funding. So we'll have to wait and see how this develops heading into the Asian session. But if we can get some stability out of China, and if Japan manages to rally in the way we expect it to, then of course this might help the Aussie market come off its lows as well.
Okay, Stan Shamu from IG in Melbourne, thanks so much.
Cheers, Kate.
To some company news out just in the past hour, Rio Tinto has decided to retain its diamond business after concluding a strategic review. Just last week, there were reports that Rio would float its entire diamonds business rather than break it up into trade sales. Canada's Dominion Diamonds has emerged as a favourite candidate to buy